Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have a really good live for you today and an amazing guest. I'm super excited to introduce you all to Giovanna, um, who is a Twill member and doing something amazing that I think is just so necessary for today's job market. Um, and I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be able to relate to the struggles that are going on in the job market. And hopefully, we'll be able to provide some insights, some tips, and a place to talk about it, get validated, and just share how important community is. But without further ado, Giovanna, do you want to just give a little bit more about your background and tell us about Rhize?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Giovanna. I am the founder of Rhize. It is a community to support the emotional well-being and professional development of our workforce. We have about 3,800 members. It is a free online community, and basically it's just a space for job seekers and unemployed people to connect on what's really going on in the market, talk about it, validate each other's experiences, so that we can find the next right step for ourselves and for each other. It's constant conversation all of the time. We have daily calls, we have Slack channel threads. It's a really active, engaged group of professionals who are really looking to find their next step in the workforce.
That's amazing. I know, myself included, but so many people are being driven to the brink of madness with how frustrating this job market is, the job search process, how long it's taking, but also there's just so many factors on, I think candidates are really and job seekers are just really getting the kind of rough end of the stick in terms of
Mhm.
like the just how they're being treated, I guess. So many
Yeah.
people I've talked to who are members and just in my personal life. And I'd love to hear from people in the chat too. But just there's so much being ghosted, finally getting offers, and they're ridiculously, inconceivably low. But I'd love to hear kind of what are some trends that you're seeing in the job market, in the job search process? What are some of the challenges?
So there are a lot of different challenges, right? I think last month's job report kind of validated a lot of what we've all been seeing. There aren't that many jobs out there. I'm not going to say there's none, but there is definitely a scarcity with hiring, which is already challenging enough for people who are looking, especially unemployed people who are looking. If you're looking to switch companies, there's a little bit less pressure, but unemployed people are now having to plan for about 6 to 12 months of being laid off and looking for work. And when I say looking for work, I mean like consistently looking for work. We have about 3,700 members in Rhize, and over 60% have applied to about 150 jobs or more. So people are really trying and putting themselves out there. So it's not for lack of effort. I think it's there's lack of human connection. So people are applying for jobs right now that they're qualified for. And I was on a call the other day, and an expert was sharing that she thinks of it this way: an applicant is everyone who applies for that job. A candidate is someone who meets the minimum requirements. And then an interviewee, obviously, is somebody they take to the next step. Well, there's way too many applicants that aren't looking to see if they're actually candidates. And that, in my opinion, and from what I hear and research, has to do with the fact that there's no human on the other side of the hiring. So you put your application in, it goes through an applicant tracking system, which makes sense to filter out, people that don't meet these baseline requirements. The problem is everyone's so desperate for work right now that they're willing to kind of shoot out their applications everywhere. And it used to be that, okay, there were only a few people doing that. Well, now everyone that's looking for work is doing that. So on the back end, companies are getting inundated with thousands of applications for one open role. And then both sides are just stagnant. So I think I would say the biggest challenge is not only the lack of jobs that are actually hiring, which we can talk ghost jobs, that's a whole nother thing. But it's when they are actually hiring, it's getting that human to human connection so that a candidate can move from being an applicant to a candidate to interviewing to potentially getting hired.
Yeah, I saw in the chat too, someone put ghost jobs. I feel like everything really just like so many problems hit the scene hard all at once where
Mhm.
there are just straight up fake job postings and scams. There are companies that I think are putting job postings on these huge job boards and then selling the data that they get from your resume, or they're doing it to have an appearance of growth to the outside when they're not actually intending to hire, which wastes everyone's time. And I feel like a lot of the solutions for this problem are actually just making it worse, like you said, where it's making it easier to do a spray and pray approach where
Mhm.
you have someone who maybe on their own could fill out, let's say, 40 applications in a week, really hitting the pavement. And now they can apply to thousands of jobs in a week where they're doing easy apply or using one of these AIs that just like
Mhm.
auto applies to basically everything. And then companies are getting absolutely drowned. Like people who actually are wanting to hire are having to navigate sometimes thousands. We've heard up to like 3,000 applications within 24 hours where
Yeah.
it just becomes a mess. And because of ChatGPT and these like AIs that will tailor your resume and uh, cover letter to that specific role, they'll look like they are a candidate where maybe they're actually an applicant. And then once they get through
Yep.
the interview process, it's all a wash. And it just takes so much of it, just takes away from the actual people who are ready to work, who are qualified, who are submitting applications. So it really does just feel like everyone's hitting this brick wall. Um,
Mhm.
and it can just be so frustrating, and like what do you even do about that? um yeah, I'm seeing in the chat some people aren't even getting rejection emails, or they'll get it
Yeah.
like months later. Someone says they've applied to over 250 roles, and
Yeah.
it's just gotten
It's out
insane,
of
and it's
hand.
enough to drive you crazy because it's so frustrating, the effort you have to put in doing research, the time it takes. Like it can just be like so
It's
mind numbing.
demoralizing. Yeah.
Yes.
It's there's a couple things I want to touch on. Ghost jobs being a huge issue. And last year, I believe at this time, the media finally started talking about ghost jobs and these companies listing jobs that they're not actually hiring for. And there's a variety of reasons why a company would list a job that they're not actually hiring for. Part of it is marketing. Part of it, I found out, is tax implications or tax deductions, something where it's favorable for taxes, collecting data, collecting resumes for future potential roles, but they just need the information. So I always say best practice, and this is what we talk about in Rhize all the time, is if you see a job on a big job board like a LinkedIn or an Indeed, always go directly to that company's website, check and see if the person that's the hiring manager is real. Like there's a few different little things you can do to make sure that you're not putting your information somewhere where you're going to get scammed, which I think we've all done. And we collect, when people join Rhize, I ask them a series of questions. And so we have data around this, but over 85% of the people in Rhize believe they've been scammed by a ghost job. So whether that means they now get text messages or ads from something, or they get emails, or they feel like because they applied to a job, they're now signed up for things they didn't sign up for. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's ghosting. So you have ghost jobs that aren't real, that just kind of, flood your brain. You're confused why you're not getting an auto rejection. It's because they don't exist, but it's really hard to admit that to yourself. And then there's ghosting, which is like you apply for a job that exists. I actually just got a rejection email from a job I applied to a year and a half ago, an auto rejection that said, we've decided to go with another candidate. And I'm like, I'm sure you did. And
No.
so we
Oh
ask
my
about
God.
ghosting. Yeah, we ask about ghosting when members enter Rhize because it's important for me to understand, like, as people are entering, how they're feeling. And 93% of our members have been ghosted at some point during the process. So I don't count the like auto rejection type ghosting, but once you kind of get through to the next step, who's been ghosted? 93%. It's a normal practice. Companies are normalizing not responding to candidates. They are taking information from you. A lot of people are submitting more than just an application. So now you have applications, short answer questions, your portfolio, a personality test. There's all of these things, and people are spending hours of their day because they truly believe they are qualified. They are a candidate for this role. It's something in their wheelhouse. They can do it. It seems like something that's actually going to happen. So they put extra effort into it. And they never hear from the company again, as if it doesn't exist. And then even worse is when they see their work on the company's website or on their Instagram or on their social media. And it's just this general, I feel, disrespect for other people's time. And there's not really a way to talk about it. Because if you share about this publicly, you might blow your chances at getting a job because a company isn't going to be like, well, I don't want that person. They're going to talk about, if something wrong happens to them or whatever. And so we get into this space of everybody's just being quiet in order to help themselves in a time when they need a job, which is so understandable. Like, you have to worry about yourself first. What is it when you put the airplane mask on yourself before you help others? That's what it's like. You got to get yourself a job, and then maybe we can talk about it being different, or maybe you can have an impact on the company that hired you's hiring process. But it's a long journey, and not everybody feels comfortable speaking up about it.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you brought up, because it does put a pressure on job seekers to stay silent, essentially, and protect bad actors, because you can't post this kind of stuff on LinkedIn, especially if you're looking for jobs. I mean, you could, but the sad truth is companies are going to look at your LinkedIn, they're going to look at your follower count, they're going to look at what you've posted. And with razor sharp margins, like, you don't want to put your own livelihood at risk in that way, but it protects companies who are doing these bad things. It makes people feel so isolated and alone. And without being able to name it and see that other people are going through it, it's just going to stay the same, if not get worse. So I love that there is kind of like a behind the scenes space for people to talk about this. I know just someone close to me in my personal life has applied to, I think, around 4,000 jobs and has gotten close so many times, and they have been ghosted, like, on interviews, like shown up to Zoom calls and then just no cancellation, no nothing. And it's like, you put so much effort into preparing, there's just so much that goes into it, to not even get like, hey, need to reschedule, not gonna make it. Like, come on. It's just gotten to the point where it's deranged. And of course, is just always getting like spam calls now, because I'm sure all of his information has been sold up and down the internet. And then there's also just straight up scams of people being like, oh, we have an offer for you. And it's like, to prey on job seekers. It's like,
it's taking somebody that's already desperate, alone, isolated, confused, and capitalizing on their confusion and their vulnerability. And I don't like that. I'm very defensive of all of the people that have now joined Rhize. Like, everybody that's in my life, like my close friends and family, are all I always use. I go, they're like right here. Like, I could hug them all. And now everybody in Rhize, I feel that way towards. And the way it started was I had been laid off 3 times in 3 years, and I was confused. Like, I would send out my resume to people and they'd be like, you look like a great candidate. And I would get all this like praise. And also, I'm so confused why this keeps happening. And granted, it was COVID and it was I was in real estate development. It was a very difficult market for those years. I was in commercial real estate, which was prior to COVID already having its challenges. So I thought I was crazy. And when I would go to all of my friends and have them, try to give me advice, everyone was just like, I don't get it. You're so great. And I downloaded TikTok because my younger cousin, who's Gen Z and like way cooler and like whatever, she's like, there's people that are laid off on TikTok. You should try to like become friends with them and get jobs. And I was like, okay. And I started sharing from like, hey, someone help me because I need a job. I can't this is my third layoff. I need to, build back savings. I need income. I need all of these things. Can someone tell me what I'm doing wrong? And it came from this very like place of, I would never post that on LinkedIn because I don't want my professional connections to know I'm struggling. And as far as I thought, TikTok was for people who were like really good at doing funny dances and like they were funny. And it was more of like a personal space. So I felt more comfortable asking those questions there. And that's when I found out how many people were actually going through it, which made me feel, first of all, not crazy. I was like, okay, so it's not me. These jobs are actually fake. And let's talk about how to get through it, because I call it productive venting, but we all know the drama circle, right? Like you can talk, and you can keep circling the drain of negativity. I don't like to get to that point. Like I like to get it off my chest and then now, okay, we've hit reality. This is happening. How do we get past it? And so that was always my goal with Rhize. And it was called the unemployed community because I was like, well, none of us have jobs. Let's just call it that. And we started having calls where someone would come in and bring their resume and say, this is what I put on my resume. Can someone help me? And we'd help each other like reword the bullet points. And then we'd help each other like, oh, I have an interview. Help me with this. We all kind of realized what the ATS system was together. It was weird. It was like sometime at the end of March 2024, we were all like, wait, a human's not actually reading this. Like we need to think about this differently. So, and then I remember in April, early April, a woman I volunteered with was VP of people at another company. And she was like, I'll come in and I'll help your people, optimize their resume or whatever. And that's when I realized like, this is actually a gap in knowledge. Like nobody knows how to navigate this. The last time I like needed to find a job, actually every job I've gotten, it's gotten through knowing someone, through talking, through a network. And this was just such a different thing to me. And what I realized was it was different for everyone. And the only way to figure out how to get through it is to be able to talk about it. But I didn't have friends I could talk about it with, didn't have family because they weren't like dealing with it at the same time, if that makes sense. So
yeah. All right, well, let's get into some solutions for everyone watching. You are not the problem.
No.
The job market sucks, so just know like and it's changing every day. Like someone in the chat, I think this is a good place to start. Is there any way to spot a ghost job? And someone else was saying like all the stuff with ATS, it feels like it's a moving benchmark where like you're never going to get ahead of the curve. And if you do, it's going to change a week later because all of these programs and all of these softwares are changing. So let's talk about some solutions because I feel like the Twill x Rhize is a really different approach that kind of like takes all of this out of the equation where you're not trying to find a job and become like an ATS tracker, intelligence agent to circumvent all of these things that shouldn't really need to be there in the first place. But yeah, for spotting a ghost job, I don't think you can. And that's part of the problem is there's no real way to tell, especially on these bigger job boards. So quick Twill plug. If you're not familiar with Twill, we're a job platform that's based on referrals. So we vet members and you can ask them to refer you to one of our open roles. Giovanna is one of our members, but we also vet the people whose the companies whose jobs are on our job board. So you can't just come in, post a job willy-nilly. We have a meeting with you. We make sure you know what you're looking for, you're actually hiring, you're ready to hire. So we verify that all of the roles are real, and that doesn't happen on other job platforms, and that's part of the problem.
Right.
But then, yeah.
I want to like just quickly touch on what you said and the ghost jobs of it all. I think there's very few things you can do to protect yourself. Like you said, you can't really tell. But if they're going to ask you for your social security number or for anything like that up front, don't do it. Like just assume that's probably fake. Best practice, I think I already said it, but go to the company's page, check that out. And then to echo what Eliza said, like there is going to be a need to bring humans back in to the hiring process. There's companies now, hiring managers and recruiters are really feeling the like, I don't know how to filter out 21,000 applications, because now we have, you know, apps where applicants can just swipe and it sends off their resume so that they can beat the system we put in place to filter. So eventually it's going to swing back, right? And I think finding job boards like Twill, and Twill is very boutique and they have very specific roles right now because they're solving for a problem and you have to start somewhere. And I think finding things like Twill, resources that can say, this job is verified, we've spoken to the hiring manager, we know that it's real, and we're putting it on our job board. So that we can actually like connect a real candidate with a real company. And to Eliza's point, like when it's real on both sides, it happens quickly. I think you and I spoke, and like average time to placement can be about 22 days. And it's like, that's normal. If someone's actually hiring and you're actually looking for work, that's really all it should take. And I think we are now so used to this idea that, you know, you have to jump through 100 hoops. And I know there's plenty of people in Rhize on a daily basis that talk about being on interview round 7, interview round 11. I've spoken to this person, we're now here. And it's like, how many weeks is that? How much time is that? What you have to kind of take stock of like where you're putting your effort. And I think obviously as you continue down the process, you'll be able to spot the ghost jobs easier and the scam jobs easier. But in the meantime, it's good to find resources that can help.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is to like consider the source. And it's probably better to like double check that it's also on that company's website, that there is a company website, and try to get as close to the origin as possible. But it's tough out there. It's riddled with all sorts of obstacles and hurdles, and it shouldn't be this hard.
No, but I think we talk about it all the time in Rhize, and it's on our onboarding survey. Over 90% of people that enter think networking is more important now than it ever has been. And so we talk a lot about mindful networking and strategies that you can use in order to meet real people, and not it just being this like LinkedIn to LinkedIn DM networking. Like, how can you get involved in your community? What are some things you can do that are free or low cost in order to help you, meet other people? Because I think it's great everybody has a network from their previous roles or from what they did. And I have a pretty solid network, but I didn't get any new opportunities in the nicest way possible from old connections. It was always rebuilding, restarting, meeting someone new, getting out of my comfort zone that put another person in front of me and another person in front of me. And I think sometimes, obviously, the easiest thing to do is go back to who you know. But go back to who you know and ask who else they know that they can introduce you to, and flex the muscle of talking to new people. And just remember that like it takes time to build a relationship, and it sucks because we don't have all the time in the world to get a job because we have bills. But somehow get that pressure out of your brain for the day, or at least for 8 hours, so that you can focus on meaningful work, I guess.
Yeah, I think it helps re-energize, but I also think time spent building your network is going to get you further than time cold applying and cold applying and cold applying. And
Totally agree.
everyone we have spoken to, all of the hiring managers, where we're like, what is the one advice for job seekers? Should they be getting certifications? What should they be doing? It's always build your network, build your network, build your network.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see it in the news too, with trends like companies are wanting to go back to in person. They want to do in person interviews. There is this return to like everything was IRL, then everything became digital. It got messier and messier and messier. Now we're all in this kind of like hiring crisis essentially, and people want to go back to what they can trust, which is human connection, it's relationships. So dedicating time in your job search for that is going to be the biggest payoff. And most, I think something like 80% of hires are through referrals. So knowing someone, having that warm intro is going to get you the advantage. And then having people in your corner is going to keep you sane during that process, that there is no like, you don't know when you're going to get that offer. It could be a month, it could be 4 months, 5 months. And that also just adds to the stress and pressure, which shows up in your interviews. It shows up when you're talking to people. So having those two components, like having referrals and having support systems where you can vent, get advice, share tips, give back to other people who are going through the same thing, it's going to have such a positive impact on your mindset and the actual outcome as well.
It's really about mental toughness and self validation, and internal validation versus external validation. And we're so used to working and getting this validation from our outside people, like great job from your boss, or like feedback from a manager. And when that's gone and you only have to look into yourself to provide that, it's really difficult. And it's even more difficult when you're not even getting a response about an application. Like, I think about this all the time. When you're at work, you're getting feedback on the work you're doing, good or bad, someone's telling you something. When you then start applying for jobs, you're applying for jobs and no one's telling you anything about your work. And we're human beings, we thrive on some level of feedback. So you have to figure out how to do that for yourself. And when I was applying for jobs, and I say this in Rhize all the time, and we talk about it all the time, you have to find a way to split your day, because to your point, you can't be cold applying, especially when, there's not a ton of real jobs out there. So you don't need to spend 8 hours a day cold applying. So I used to set aside 9 to noon in the morning, and I would call that my employee of the month time. And I would like be the best employee. And I would be like, I'm going to pretend that I'm like a star at everything. And I would apply to all the jobs that I could. Cover letter, resume, I would follow up with the hiring manager. I would go that extra step. And then after lunch was my time to learn something or to do something. It wasn't like TV time. It wasn't like clean the apartment time, but it was like, what can I do to expand my mind in a different way? I would volunteer. I wrote a kid's book and learned how to self-publish it. I started a pop-up market. Like, there were all these things that I was like, well, what are my bucket list items? And they kept my brain learning and moving in a different way than a job did. And actually, like, Rhize was one of those things. I just was like, well, I'll communicate with these people and we'll find other ways. And I ended up going to volunteer in person with some of them, or, doing different things like that. And I think if you can find a way to feel some level of challenge in your mind and validation in your mind through something other than cold applying, it's going to like be a complete game changer. And one thing I wish I did sooner was, people share with me now, they kept boundaries on their calendar. When you are unemployed, you'll tell anyone, oh, I'm free to talk whenever. I can interview whenever, but really you should try to keep your time for you, because like the more structure you have, the more in control of your time you feel. And that's really like kind of what a lot of the stress is. It's like, well, I'm available all the time for whatever, whenever. And then you're constantly chasing around people, but you could fill your time with things that you want for yourself. And then if someone calls for an interview, you know what the time slots available you have are. So,
yeah. As we start wrapping up, can you tell everyone a little more about how to join Rhize? I have the link, and then just kind of like what to expect from being part of the Rhize community.
Yeah, so you can join at that link, risetogether.com/join. There's an onboarding survey. I read through all the surveys, and then I personally send you an email with all the instructions, onboarding. We have a Loom video walking you through the space, and then you'll get the Slack link. It's all in Slack, all of our resources. So once you get in, you're dropped into the channels we have. We have 3 main focuses. Employment and job search strategy, obviously help you get a job. Mental health and overall well-being is a place to talk about how you're feeling. And then we have a channel where you can talk about financial planning, budgeting, what's confusing, how are people getting through it, among a few other channels. We just opened a verified opportunities channel, which will have some of the roles from Twill. And then we have daily calls. So it's one thing to be in the channels, and then it's another thing to get on a call, like a video call. You can have your camera on or off. You can participate if you want or not. But it's a good way to talk to other people that are going through what you're going through. Someone said to me one time, who obviously didn't get it, why would unemployed people want to talk to unemployed people? And I said, because that's out the window. We're all meeting each other where we're at. And the vast majority of people in Rhize are people with 10 to 15 to 20 years experience in the workforce, who are senior level, director level people who are used to working, want to work, are looking for projects, are looking for full-time roles. And you'll be so surprised by how many people know other people and have opportunities. And we've had hundreds of members get jobs and credit it back to conversations that they've had in Rhize. It's just another way to meet people, and it takes the pressure off. And I know I'm rambling, but I just think about being unemployed and going to a networking event and being the person to be like, oh, I got laid off, can feel so bad. And if you come into Rhize, you don't have to worry about saying that. We all know. Let's just start the conversation about, what's next for all of us. So super positive place. Everybody's really great. And yeah, the link is right there.
Yes, I encourage everyone to check it out. You never know who knows someone, and someone in your network might not have a job that's exactly what you're looking for, but they could for the next person, and you could be the one to make that link happen. They could be the one to make that link happen for you. Your best chance at getting your foot in the door is referrals, is a warm intro. It's not cold applying. I would put if you see a job you're excited about, apply, but I would put most of your time, energy into building your network, meeting people, putting it out there, giving back. Yep. You're going to get a lot farther, a lot faster.
Totally agree.
So just a little more about Twill. So we're kind of like step 2 after you're finding the support and network. So we have vetted jobs on our job board. We're a little different than a traditional job board. You cannot cold apply to our roles. You have to be referred in by a Twill member. Becoming a Twill member is free. So if you're looking, if you know other people are looking, this is a great thing to do together to help support. And we bypass cold applications, we bypass the ATS, because one of the big things companies are struggling with is being able to verify who is real and what they can actually do, and a referral helps get them that information. So if you have a former colleague or someone you've worked closely with before, this is a great thing to do together. And the best thing about it is if you refer someone and they get hired, you earn $5K to $20K cash. So it's also a great way while you're looking for something to just have a chance to have a little breathing room on that journey, because side hustles, it looks, are here to stay. So it's nice to have something that actually helps people and doesn't take a lot of work. So we'd love for you to join. And like I said, Giovanna is a Twill member. So if you're part of Rhize and see a role on our job board you're interested in, you can request a referral from her. And September, guys, everyone cross your fingers. September surge.
We're hoping.
This is going to be everyone's month, okay? You have to keep a positive attitude, positive mindset.
We are actually talking about that in Rhize, and we have a call next week that's going to be all focused on self-care during the September surge, because it is so hyped up. And it's like, how do you keep your energy to continue applying when all of a sudden there's this influx and you don't want to miss it, and you don't want to, it's like, how do you keep your consistent practices? So we're all fingers crossed that it's going to be good for everyone. So
yes, amazing. And I saw a question earlier, if Twill is for the US. So Twill, we focus mostly on tech. So we do have a few international roles. I would say most of our roles are in the US, Canada. We get some Latin American roles. But if you're an engineer, if you do tech sales, health tech, MarTech, anything in the tech space, you're going to see something probably that would align with you or someone in your network. So tech people, especially in the US, we get new roles like every week, remote, hybrid, in person. We have a lot of variety. And then, any final advice, any final questions?
I would say, like, something to leave on is, I don't want to say keep your head up, but like, keep talking to people, keep meeting people, try your best to keep putting yourself out there. And I keep saying in Rhize, like, Rhize is a low stakes environment. Practice your interviews there, practice talking to people, practice your intros. If you feel like there's an email that you're going to send that you're a little nervous to send because it's a job that you really want, or you really want to connect with this person, practice with people in Rhize that understand you and can help you. The understanding and empathy is the biggest part, in my opinion. And once you feel validated, and I think I said this on TikTok the other day, like, someone scrolls by my video however many times and it clicks eventually where they're like, that's me, I've gone through that. And then when you enter now a community of almost 4,000 people that are like, we'll validate your experience, you're not crazy. And it's almost like, once you get that validation, you can be at peace with it and realize you don't have to take the blame for everything. You're responsible for your own path forward. So how do you want to do that? Do you want to do that with full-time employment? Do you want to do that stacking freelance jobs? Do you want to do that with a couple part-time jobs? Are you going to go back to school? And it's just this idea that once you feel seen, it's easier to take your power back. And really, that's what our goal is, to have an empowered workforce, have people go back into the workforce in a way they feel good about, and to contribute to society and companies and the economy in a positive way.
Sorry, I'm just sending some links in the chat so people.
No, you're good. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. There's like a lot of chatter going on over here, and I can't read and talk at the same time.
I mean, I think it just goes to show everyone is having this experience. I had a job in tech for 7 years. I had not posted, I think, or logged in once to LinkedIn during that time. I got laid off really unexpectedly, and it was like just a gut punch. And it was like the height of just layoffs after layoffs. And there are hundreds of thousands of people who have been laid off in tech, who are still looking. And it's the collective experience. I feel like you see a headline, you see a number in the news, but these are all real people who are struggling, who are scared, who did everything right, who are doing everything right. And something is deeply broken. And I think just having that understanding of, yes, it is strange that after 10, 15, 20 years of experience, never having issues finding a job, all of a sudden you're on like year 2 of just crickets, rejection. Like something is amiss and it's not you. There is just a very broken system. And I know Twill, you, other companies are really trying to tackle this issue. And it all comes back to relationships and community. That's what's going to push these changes forward. So, yes, excited for you all to join Rhize. Sign up for Twill. All these services are free and are really pushing to make the process better for everyone and create support and look at like what's not working. And that's cold applying, sending out thousands of applications and resumes and not hearing anything back. So yeah, I actually am a Twill hire. So after I got laid off, I was dreading going and having to like do cold application because I knew it wasn't gonna get me anywhere. And I was like, let me dust off my LinkedIn. I'll make one post, just see if I know anyone who is hiring, even though like, especially at that time, it felt like there was so much stigma around being like, I was laid off. Like it's like it's not your fault.
Right.
But it's like that feeling of people are gonna like avoid you or something. But a former manager messaged me immediately and was like, I'm a Twill member and I can refer you to jobs. You don't need to apply. Just let me know which ones you're interested in and I'll refer you. And that's all you have to do. And I was like, this can't be real. And Twill was hiring and she referred me to that role. Later that afternoon, I got an interview. A month later, I had an offer. And I was just like, this is what it's supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be years of hell on earth. And she got a 5K referral bonus for making the connection and sharing her insights about working with me. And it was like just simple, clean, easy, and took 1 month start to finish.
Right, because it was a legitimate job that needed a legitimate candidate. And that's like, and you found a way in. And I think that is like back to the human of it all. And it's like, that's what we're trying to talk about in Rhize. It's like, how do you keep your eyes open for these opportunities and not get saturated with the other stuff? And like, you're here and you're doing this, and it gives everybody else hope that if they keep showing up, you have to keep showing up. You can't just be like, I'm going to sit and hope, but like keep showing up, keep putting yourself out there in different ways. There will be something that happens for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This was such a good live. Sometimes you do just need to get stuff off your chest. And it's like the pressure that people go through in the job search. I've been laid off a few times where I had like a year where I was just networking, applying, and being like, the bills are due. Like the pressure it's exhausting. So easy to give into the pressure and the fear. And I really do feel like once you can let that go, things, of course, you still have to work at it, but I think things are more likely to align for you because you're able to like find your confidence and your messaging and keep focus on what employers are looking for instead of projecting like, I need a job, someone give me a job. Like it puts you in a position of desperation instead of I'm an asset, and believing that with your whole chest. So I think it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. I don't know how much time we have left. I'm trying to see if we're missing any questions, but I was on the Peloton, and everyone in Rhize knows I'm obsessed with the Peloton. And the woman, we were like climbing a hill, which is very uncomfortable. And the woman teaching was like, It's easier to believe in yourself when you're comfortable. It's harder to remember your beliefs when you're uncomfortable. And losing a job is extremely uncomfortable. And it's really hard to remember your beliefs, remember who you are, remember what your values are, because you're in this like space of discomfort. And the more you can pull yourself back to comfort, the more you can, take care of yourself, make sure you're doing the things like meeting your network, putting in good work, doing the things that like give you back, things will pan out. And I don't mean that in a toxic positivity way. I mean it in like, look back on your life and think about how many things ended up working out for you and try to channel that,
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, it's not surprising, but it is very refreshing and worth noting how many people are willing to offer an introduction, offer support, review a resume. And I know it can be really hard to put yourself out there and ask, but I talk to Twill members all day, every day.
Yeah.
And the thing that constantly comes up is like, I don't care that there's a referral bonus. It's nice. I just want to help my network. I want to do whatever I can to help them get a foot in the door, to make their life a little easier, to get them connected to actual opportunities.
Yep.
And people want to help those in their network. It's not a big ask. It's not like a horrible favor you're asking them. People care about the people in their lives, the people who have supported them. They want to pay it forward. They want to build a network too. So don't feel like you're a burden. Don't feel like you can't ask for support, for someone to champion you. People want to do it. And you
Yep.
never know, 5 years down the line, they might be asking you to do the same thing or someone else. But humans were built for community and they want to give back. They want to make life better for people around them.
Yeah, it's literally in our nature. And to your point, like just echoing again, we have a job search buddy program in Rhize where we match you and you fill out a form and I do the matching. AI doesn't do the matching. I read everybody's thing. I see who looks like they're going to make sense with who. I try not to overanalyze, but we have that. We have Rhize members who have gotten jobs who come back and lead calls to explain how they think they got their job. We have a woman who got her job essentially made for her because she met with somebody over coffee. They were networking over time. And the person was like, we really could use your expertise at our company. Let's find a way to get you in the door. And there's all these different ways now to do it. And the people that figure it out, I totally agree with you, want to pay it forward, want to help the next person. And I think we talk about this sometimes in Rhize. There are people that don't care or won't answer. And just leave it at that. If you reach out to somebody and they don't respond to you, it's okay. Reach out to the next person. Like, try not to put the value in the people that are ignoring you. Just think about it this way. They might be busy. Maybe they're going through something. Don't put any like ownership or emotions to it and just like on to the next. And I think, Eliza, you're so right. Like, it's people. It's always going to be people. I get it. We have like really smart robots and people are falling in love with AI on a daily basis, but like, it's always going to be people.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. I had another thought and now I was going to say the other thing that's so important with networking is that's how you find out about like the most random, obscure, super interesting opportunities. And it's always like, oh, my friend just mentioned to me that they're hiring for like this very kind of out of the box position and la la la. Like it's like the Whisper Network. If anyone, that just reminds me, one of my friends who has an AI like kind of tech company that's like a la Disney, very like creative, magical character building. They're looking for a social media manager and they're never going to post on LinkedIn. They're never going to post on a job board.
Right.
He was just like,
they
do
don't have
you
to
know anyone? This is what we're looking for. So once you start chirping in people's ears, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I can do, here's what I'm excited about, the more they'll be able to connect you to these kind of like Whisper Network jobs of people who are not going to post a role, but are really cool opportunities.
Gossip is how we all survive.
Network.
Yeah, I feel like gossiping has this bad, vibe to it, but it's the way people spread information and talking. And like, I was just in Boston recently and I went on a duck tour, and the guy was like talking about Paul Revere running through and yelling the British are coming. And it's like, that's the only way we knew what was going on, was because people were talking and they had to run through the streets and tell everybody. And it's like, that's how you're going to find things. As much as the computers can do, and as much as like we can post things, nobody's sure if it's real or not, unless it's like, yeah, I know Eliza is a real person. I can't like, we're not in the same room, but like, yes, our network can be expanded now virtually, but let's be gossip, talk to people. Like, it has such a bad connotation, but that's how we find out information before people know about it. So
yeah, and a lot of people don't want to go through they know posting a job online is going to mean like a tsunami of candidates, applications, scams, like AI avatars pretending to be people, like evil bots. We're hearing all sorts of tales. Like it's like a whisper network, or they'll post through Twill, or they'll reach out to community leaders who run Slack communities, like Giovanna. So that's another great avenue, is like, not to, I know like, but this link is being streamed on LinkedIn, but try to find the more niche, boutique, community driven opportunities.
Well, and jobs get posted, right? We're not saying all jobs are fake, but if you think about it, and I think about it from my experience, by the time a job gets posted on a job board, the person that's hiring for it probably already has an idea in their mind of the type of person they want, who they want. And I do think right now companies are being so thoughtful about the roles they're hiring for. So they really are like, okay, what would an ideal candidate look like? They already know all that before they post. So then I know a lot of people, they have to post jobs, or a lot of companies have to post jobs publicly because of the law. But by the time they post it publicly, they already have in their mind who they're going to hire. That's just what I think. And so I think the more in tune you can be with the conversation, the better it is than just a job board, if that makes sense. And so hopefully between things like Twill and Rhize, we're empowering candidates to see what actually, like, what the power that they hold is and how do you use it. We don't have the power to hire ourselves. It'd be great to do that. We just don't. So like, how do I position myself to get hired by somebody in any way? So
thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. You have so much insight. I absolutely love what you're doing. I think it's such a huge value add. And I know in my past, like, having the support was what got me over the line and kept me from like in my darkest hours. So I feel like it's so important. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you everyone who tuned in. We're all in your corner now, whether you like it or not. You're part of the Twill Rhize community, and we're rooting for you. Hopefully we can connect everyone to the right opportunity, because it does take a village at this point. Your best chance is working with others, building your network, joining communities. And it's a better experience. I think it's more impactful and you have better outcomes, but it's also like, it just feels better. It's a better experience to go through. But thank you all so much for showing up, tuning in. That says a lot as well, that you're just open to learning more, always looking to improve, find insights. So I have a feeling September is going to be a good month for everyone.
I do too. It's fresh. It's fall. Leaves are turning.
I've got my sweater.
Like it's getting cool in the South. So it's like, we'll all be okay. And thank you for having me. I'm so glad there's a place to have this conversation. I think it's cool that we're both approaching it from two different spaces for the same outcome, just to help people find work. And I hope we have another one of these or more in the future. But I think what Twill and Rhize are going to end up doing together will be great. And yeah, we'll get everybody jobs.
Yes. Yes. Thank you all so much. Feel free to connect with both of us on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming. And hopefully we'll all be chatting again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.